In this episode, I'm going to be talking about focus, strategic thought, highest value work, accountability, but I got to kind of back into it. And we are back with another episode of the Julius Files. So recently, I have been approached to do some coaching for some young entrepreneurs, and I'm saying it like that because coaching is never something that I really had any intention to do, and in my younger years, I never would have done it. It's not something that I didn't have the experience, and that's part of I guess the issue where, like I said, I see a lot of coaching out there where I'm like, you don't have any experience to be speaking from, and those are generally the people you shouldn't be listening to when it comes to entrepreneurship. But I'm 20 years in now, and if nothing else, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I think that there's a certain amount of wisdom that'll come from that. And I've always had a certain desire to teach, but I've never sought it out. And so having some people seek me out for that coaching and guidance has, I guess it's put me thinking on a deeper level, as far as like, what kind of coaching do I want to do? What kind of coach, or what kind of advice do I want to offer? How do I want to present myself? I say present myself. What I'm getting at is, how can I be honest and candid and truly help them, and impart that wisdom and still be me? And I say still be me because, I mean, a lot of coaches out there are just going to give you a bunch of fluff and ha 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 because they want to be paid. And I'm like, that's not. I am an entrepreneur. I get paid by being an entrepreneur. So it's. Like I said, coaching is not something. It's not something that I actually ever thought that I would necessarily pursue. This has been a natural progression. I believe in brutal honesty. I believe in tough love, and so it has brought some soul searching that I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll just bring this to a podcast and see how all of this sorts out. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you know me by my first name, like, you like me, we're friends. If you know me by my last name, you respect me. That's like it. And if you don't like me or respect me, then my personal opinion is that you probably don't know me, but I believe that that's where it comes back to, like, it's really easy for the politicians to paint the business person as the big bad person. And it's because you think, or the public thinks, that we're playing by the same rules and that we are the same, and that we're playing the same game. And we're not. We're not playing the same game at all. And so, if you don't like me or respect me, it's because you don't understand me and you resent the way I speak or act or live my life, or the way I go about working or making money, because you think we're playing by the same rules. And entrepreneurs don't play by the same rules. Like, the employer and the employee, the builder and the labor, like, we're not playing the same game. We don't see life through the same lenses. We don't play by the same rules. And when you don't understand that, what you see from a distance and you don't know, you can somehow find resentment in that, because it's easy to dig into the negative and buy into all of the BS that the politicians want to paint. And it's like, at the end of the day, from a normal person's perspective, I'm supposed to care about what your opinion of me is. And from my perspective, your opinion of me is none of my business. And I could really give a shit less because I'm living my life and you're living your life. And I totally respect that. But I understand that I'm playing by different rules because I understand that I'm playing a different game. So if I'm going to coach, I want to try and explain that to the individual that's trying to play that different game. I'm saying it like that because it's just very odd that, I have been approached in the last month by 4 different people, and one of them was brought to me by another guy that he saw potential in him, and he was like, I know somebody that can help you. And when I met him, with the conversation went well enough, and we started getting into the business that he's trying to build. And I guess I should preface that by just saying, the new age of the internet entrepreneur, that's not me and that's not who I'm coaching, and I don't have any business speaking to that. I know how to take $1 and build it to $1 million. I've done it several times in the brick and mortar and in the service space. And this kid wants to build a painting business. But me being me, it was he started screwing up. And then he would come at me and think that it was no big deal. And I very quickly shot right back at him and was like, you can't do this in business. You cannot be this way in business. And in the realm of that, it was about respecting my time. And I was very just clear to say, I'm no better than you, but my time is more valuable than yours. And because I view time differently, I view it through a different lens. And I think that that's part of the difference between the entrepreneur does not get paid in time. They view time differently. The worker looks at working 9 to 5 and they're paid for their time. I just view life, and I believe all entrepreneurs view life through a different lens. So I decided that I was going to be me, and I treated him like anybody else. And when I say that, it's because I tell everybody around me, I'm going to push you, and I'm going to push you to get better, or I'm going to push you away from me. I'm going to repel you, and I'm completely fine with that because I want to surround myself with people that are continually keeping it pushing, that are getting better and better and better. So I told him, I'm not here to be your friend. If you want the wisdom, if you want the coaching, then I'm going to give it to you straight because I want to see you succeed, but there are certain rules that you do play by in entrepreneurship, and you're starting off breaking those rules. And if I'm truly going to be a coach, well, then I'm going to be honest with you about that. But in the grander scheme of everything, it was I'm not a coach. I am an entrepreneur. I don't do entrepreneurship. And I'm like, how do you coach somebody to how do I coach somebody to, I don't want to say to be me, but to it is a be. It is not a do. It is a different mindset. It is a different lens. Successful entrepreneurs do not do entrepreneurship. They are entrepreneurs. It defines them. It's that success, that armor that they have built, that the way that we go about making decisions and processing risk and taking action, the way we build, the way we do one thing is how we do everything. It's like, how do I teach somebody about who I am? Because it is about who I am, not what do I do. So I guess all I have in that fact determined is that I don't want to be a mindset coach. I enjoy the tactical. And so all I can really do is field their questions and listen to their situations and try and meet them where they are. And at the same time, without telling them what to do, because an entrepreneur has to make their own decisions because they have to own their decisions. They have to hold themselves accountable. And yes, it is about taking input from credible sources, but it's not doing what that credible source tells you to do. It's about receiving the input and the information and the wisdom that they're trying to impart, and then making your own decisions and living and dying by those decisions and holding yourself accountable. So the only way that I can do that is to be willing to talk about my own failures and my own observations for parallels that I somehow see that they align with the questions that they're asking, and hope that they make the right decision and that they receive the message and it's received well. In this in particular individual situation, he, at the end of it all, he thanked me by saying I needed to hear that, and there wasn't going to be anybody else out there that was actually going to tell him that. And that's part of, like, your friends are not going to be that blunt and honest with you. And because I was very clear to say, like, I hope over time that we do develop a friendship, but I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be honest with you and give you that input and that coaching that you said that you wanted. And it's not going to come all nice and foo-foo. So then when I really started thinking about the coaching side of it, I started thinking about some of the mistakes that I had actually made and some of the questions that I had asked my own coach and questions I wish that he had asked me. So I bought another business a couple years ago, and in the end, I have turned into what they would refer to as a serial entrepreneur. I'm looking back on it and saying, that was dumb. Yet another mistake. But you make lemonade out of lemons, because I'm not going backwards, but it was a mistake. But, and I say it was a mistake. Why was it a mistake? My main business, the brands that I created, Coffee Junkies and Pizza Junkies, I'm in the coffee and the pizza or the food and beverage industry, and I am at 20 years in. I own 3 operations, and I am moving towards franchising those operations. I was presented with an opportunity to buy my apparel provider, their screen print and embroidery. And in my brain, it was, okay, well, if I'm going to scale hundreds and thousands of franchise operations, we are all going to consistently need apparel. So I have an opportunity to buy the apparel business, which does allow me to more quickly exercise a certain amount of creative and own another piece of the puzzle, to where it is one more element of this ecosystem of small businesses that I own that do business with each other, and they're capable of doing business with other small businesses. So when this opportunity was brought to me, I did go to my business coach, and I asked him for his opinion, and the strategic question that he asked me was, do you have the bandwidth for this? My answer was yes. Why would my answer be yes? Because every entrepreneur, like, once you get to a point, and it's every entrepreneur that exceeds 10 years and is successfully getting past that 10 years knows that they've learned the rules of the game. They've learned the key principles of what it takes to be successful in business. And they know that they're capable of walking into any business and spotting the problems and fixing them and turning that business around. So any successful entrepreneur is going to be like, yes, I have the bandwidth for this because I now know that I know what I'm doing. The problem is, in my opinion, now hindsight being 2020, I look back at that and I feel like he should have followed up with the next question, which should have been, is this the highest value efforts that you can use your time for? That answer would have been no. Because the reality is, buying that business was a mistake because it directed my focus towards something that had absolutely nothing to do with franchising. It, quite honestly, set me back another 18 to 24 months in my real efforts of franchising because I had to take a 40-year-old business that was ran as a mom and pop and had no real technology implemented in, no real duplicatable systems and processes built into them. And then I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, and for another podcast on the overall explanation. But as I was actually getting everything put together in place, I find out that the building that we are in, that 30 of the 36 trusses are bent, bowed, or snapped, and the building gets condemned, and I didn't have any choice. Well, I said I didn't have any choice. I made the choice to save the business, which meant buying another building and relocating the entire business. And again, further putting my focus on an auxiliary business that didn't have shit to do with actually franchising. And I put 20 years into building this food and beverage brand that I have real results, that I have built the systems and processes that I know I'm capable of duplicating. And I had to shift my focus off of all of that because I decided to buy another business. When you are in entrepreneurship, you have to think about where you focus your time, where you focus your energy and efforts, and what is the highest value thing that you can be directing your time, energy, and efforts. I should not have bought Vickers. Does not matter. I have already invested a pile of freaking money and a huge amount of time and effort, and I am going to make lemonade. But the bigger picture is that when I started Coffee Junkies, my vision was 50 stores in 5 years. And I know that that was a entrepreneur's dream. And I had a whole lot that I needed to learn before I was capable of actually duplicating and building a brand and business. But the point is, I have said before that one of the first lessons that entrepreneurs have to learn is how to say no. And I have become very good at saying no for the little things, but I'm also realizing I have not mastered saying no to opportunities, and not saying no to opportunities has literally cost me millions of dollars because it shifted my focus away from where the highest value opportunity was, where the highest percentage of success was, which is duplicating a proven program that I have already spent my entire entrepreneurial life learning those lessons to apply to the next to actually build something. Because I'm not ever going to duplicate or build this private label entrepreneur, the private label apparel, because, I mean, like I said, it's screen print and embroidery. It is fully capable of being a multi-million-dollar business. At the end of the day, it will be when I get done with this. But a screen print and embroidery business, the industry itself, if you look into it, like, it's never going to be a $10 million business, much less a $100 million business. And when each of my food and beverage operations are doing over $1 million a year, well, okay, 100 of them equals over $100 million in revenue. So it's not hard for me to actually calculate the numbers and say, where should I have been putting my focus and investing my time towards the highest value thing that I could be putting my time in? I'm saying that because there's the lesson in entrepreneurship. And when 99 out of 100 fail in the first 10 years, I'm trying to tell you yet another way that you can be tripped up in not getting to becoming a 10-year veteran and beyond. And it's, yes, you have to be able to say no to all of the little things, but opportunities, if you are in business, they are a dime a dozen. And it is about being disciplined enough to say no to those opportunities. And then when you do say yes to those opportunities, and like myself, you look back and you realize all you have done is shift your focus away from what matters most, well, then you have to own your decisions, and then you have to double up your efforts, because the franchising is still what matters most to me. Like, I still have to devote a tremendous amount of time and effort to getting the franchising off the ground, even though I mistakenly said yes to this and have invested a bunch of time and money into it. I've literally thought about closing it down. I've thought about walking away from it. Yes, there is a certain amount of sunk cost syndrome at play there, and I have thought about that. But I've also thought it's worth fighting for. The people involved are worth fighting for. I've already made the decision, but I'm trying to pass on the lesson that in entrepreneurship, if you are in the game, you're going to be faced with opportunities, and you need to be saying no to the vast majority of those opportunities because they don't present the highest value in return for your time. And when the failure rate is so high, you're already taking a risk by throwing your name in the hat, and you don't need to be saying yes to opportunities that further complicate the process and stack bigger odds against you because you have the bandwidth to say yes. The human being has the bandwidth to say yes to a lot of things. That does not mean that they should. And yes, entrepreneurs are playing a different game, and they're playing by different rules. Those rules can be very gratifying when you can get to the point of success, but your odds of failure are so high. The last thing that you need to be doing is being your own worst enemy, because one of the first things an entrepreneur has to do in order to start playing the new game and by the new sets of rules is stop being their own worst enemy. Stop getting in your own way. Stop making the same old decisions and tripping yourself up the same way that regular old people do. And I'm not judging anybody. I'm just simply saying to be successful in entrepreneurship, you have to want to be aware. You have to want to understand that you're not playing the same game. You're not playing by the same rules. And it means making more strategic decisions. It means seeing through a different lens and seeing from a higher level, looking down on the puzzle and the picture and seeing the game from a different angle and playing smartly. All right. That's my pod. If you disagree with me and you're watching it on YouTube, leave it in the comments. All right. Till next time. Have a good night.